Marshelle.
Hi, Bridget. This episode,
We're going to talk about
what are the things that are going on in our lives?
it's kind of like maybe this might be like,
Yeah, sorta, kinda.
life lesson.
hi. Well, hello.
Hi,
I'm Marshelle.
I'm Bridget.
This is Yeah, Sorta, Kinda.
Yeah, we're back. Episode 5.
It is episode 5.
Yeah, feels good.
Wow. Yeah, it does feel good.
This has been a weekly routine that I have grown to really look forward to.
Me too.
Also, can I say something cute?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at Marshelle's house and I'm using Marshelle's mug.
Mm-hmm.
And unbeknownst to me, she had chosen a blue mug far before I chose mine. And if you only knew how many mugs I have to choose from and the fact that we essentially chose the same mug, I mean, that just goes to show we are on the same wavelength tonight, guys.
And it's blue. Communication, right?
Oh, yeah,
Chakras.
for those of you who can't see, we both have blue mugs.
Blue mugs.
And yes, chakra colors.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole thing.
It is, isn't it?
The energy.
But the
centers
throat,
of the
throat communication is blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we go over the 7 chakras?
That's what I was just debating.
Don't some people say chakra? Is that, I don't know the pronunciation. Chakra?
I've heard so
Chakra?
many different, it's like Hollywood names. They change the pronunciation, like Philippi, Felipe, Philippe, you know.
I
mean, it
watched
could be-
a whole clip on Saoirse Ronan.
I can't say her name, but I love her.
She's adorable.
I just don't know how to say her
Little
name.
Irish lass. The
Yeah.
thing is, I watched the entire thing, this clip, and it was said so many times the wrong way that my brain is just as
Yeah,
confused as
it's the
before.
same. It's the same.
Saoirse. Shit.
I don't think it's any of that. Yeah.
But the chakras, there's 7 of them, and they all.
Alexa, how do you pronounce chakra?
I pronounce that chakra, but I'm always working on how I say things and I might not have it right.
Thank you. She say chakra or chakra? Chakra.
She said chakra, but then she was like, I may have this wrong.
Thanks for
Also,
nothing.
I realize my mic is high and I'm doing this, so let's just adjust this a little bit.
But you'll always look up.
Well, I don't know that I need to highlight my neck any more than it already is. So the throat chakra is blue, which ties into communication. So the one idea out there is like, if you want to communicate really well, wear blue. Which look
I'm
at
wearing
us.
blue.
As I'm
Yours
wearing
is
a
kind
shade
of a green blue.
Well, yeah, it's like a turquoise, but it's
Yeah.
a shade. It's in the blue family enough.
Yeah. And I think the colors are, you can remember them. It's like the rainbow Roy G. Biv. I think it's red, orange, yellow,
Green, blue. Then there's
Indigo.
like indigo, and then
violet.
like I always picture like an amethyst stone.
Yeah, but to go with Biv, it's violet.
Oh, see, acronyms. That's what an acronym is, right? When I say
I guess I don't remember what that is. I just remember Roy G. Biv.
Alexa, what's an acronym? Alexa, that's okay.
Alexa, stop.
Thank you.
I remember that from 3rd grade. That's what I was about to say. Before you asked Alexa. I was like, I remember that from 3rd
She's
grade.
listening. You said her name. She's listening. I can see her light up.
It's like Big Brother, always listening.
Are we done with the chakras?
Um,
I'm just curious.
I don't know. I mean, we can talk more about it.
It's just an interesting idea that we have these energy centers in our body, and that energy is in motion through us, and
And they can be blocked.
yeah, and you can feel like if you when you feel choked up when you're talking, like you feel that in the throat, and so for me, I can make that logical connection to like, okay, I'm having maybe a block in my throat in that moment when I'm feeling choked up and like I can't speak, or like when you feel love like blossoming from your heart area.
Well, I know I was always aware of them, but I didn't really focus on them. And there was a time frame where I was getting sick a lot. And it turns out I was working with this lady who's really negative, and didn't have the best intention for me. And it turns out later, like she was very...
#relatable.
Exactly. So it seemed that I was, some people would say I was absorbing her energy. I mean, I don't know. All I know is I just was sickly all the time. And I think I was, she was definitely a negative person in some ways. I ended up quitting that and I did feel better. But I went to this holistic vitamin place because I'd gone to the doctor, nothing was really working. So I go in there and these guys, they're all into talking about the universe, and your chakras and blah, 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 chakra, whatever, saying all these different things. You got to take this, you got to take that. And they've got like big triangles hanging up, and they're standing under them and talking about the vibration and how good it feels. And I'm like, okay.
Was this like your first exposure to some of these ideas?
To the LA,
Got it.
like, now I'd seen it in Missouri, but in a different context. It wasn't quite in the LA experience, which I'm sure you can kind of pick. They're a little more, I wouldn't say hippy dippy, but they're just a little more of the new age, full blown jump in, got a million crystals on, that sort of thing. And so the guy goes, so I was telling him what was going on. And I'm like, I was also looking for some kind of holistic medicine. That's actually what I went there for. That's right. He starts going, he looks at me and he goes, well, your chakras are blocked. And my first instinct was to be like, well, your chakras are blocked. That's not very nice. I'm like, how dare you? That's just my normal reaction to things like that.
But you don't know me or my chakras.
Yeah, exactly. How dare you? So, but then something kind of made sense about it in a way.
But tell me more.
Yeah, I still wanted to know. I was like, well, fuck it. I'll listen to this. I'll see what he has to say. And then I'll do my own research. That's always how I was about that. So long story short, I was like, wow, that kind of makes sense. And then a few years later, I started doing yoga a lot, like hot yoga. I've always done yoga, but I started leaving my house to do yoga, which was a big deal. But it was hot yoga, as I said. And so it really opens up your body and just in all ways. And it works on all the chakras all over your body. Mm-hmm. And I did feel like it opened them. Like I started, after the holistic guy, I did start sort of, he's like, you just got to make sure you open them, like tell them to open. So I started kind of looking into that a little bit. And I had to admit, I felt better, but I was also taking these vitamins. And so, I'm sure it was a combo of these things. Now, back up just a little bit. If people are talking about chakras, what the hell? Like, I think you have to shift your perception a little bit to adjust your awareness a little bit, and you'll sense it, like if something's blocked. But I did notice, though, from yoga and just all that, there is something to that whole chakra system.
For me, the eye-opening experience that I had that gave me pause to say, I want to look further into this idea of like the body having an energy system was the first time I ever got acupuncture. And I didn't have previously really any experience like it. So basically what happened, I don't even remember what I was going in there to be like treated for. And this was actually back in my hometown. So it wasn't like a very popular treatment. There might've been one practitioner in that area.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Were you going there for acupuncture?
Acupuncture.
So you were going there for acupuncture. Okay.
Did I say acupressure?
You said something about it, but I just wasn't sure if I meant you were going there specifically to do that or you were just checking it out.
Specifically for acupuncture. And there was a moment, I guess he put a needle in the top of my head.
Ooh.
And it felt like if somebody cracked an egg on the top of your head, and then you could feel it slowly start to spread down. And it is kind of challenging to put into words, but I was very aware that there was now a flow through my body that hadn't been there before.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like I had known it because there was a lack before. It was the discovering flow for the first time really consciously that I was like, well, this is an experience. So now I need to kind of
you actually can feel now that it's moving.
So I started with an experience that I then went to find words for, as opposed to finding words like chakra and all this and then finding an experience to match that. It was the other way around for me. And so when I started to read more about, that kind of stuff, it all made sense. Plus, as weird as it sounds, like I've at various points in my life really been able to feel energy in my hands. And sometimes it feels like static and sometimes it feels like, I've used the analogy of like if you put your hand in water, it still goes through, but there's a bit of a resistance when you hit the top,
Yeah, the energy.
and it slows your hand down. So sometimes energy feels somewhat like that, where there's like a physicality, even though it's not physical. And I'm talking about like energy maybe that I'm feeling outside of my own, like this, like I did not know I was going to talk about this. It sounds so weird, but yet it's an experience I've had. So for me, when I have experiences that are felt, I want to investigate them. And so I'll go and I'll look at a lot of information and see what makes sense to me. And I felt like there was so much information available on like chakra system, and it really resonated with me. And it's been nothing but helpful. So why not use it if it's nothing but helpful?
It's like you said, okay, so they put the pen in the top of your head and you felt this so that's what I mean. Like if you shift your perception a little bit. So once I was messing around with what the guy said to do, like he just said, tell your chakras to open. So I started looking up these different books. That's when you could feel a difference. You could definitely feel something turning or spinning, but also
and Balsam agrees.
And Balsam agrees with us. But the lines, the acupuncture,
the meridians,
go with the meridians.
Yeah.
And I believe in that a lot too. You can even just tap on those things and you can clear out old programming, as they say, and then you clear in, you reprogram positive expressions into your mind frame.
Is that EFT, emotional freedom technique?
I think it's
is
it
the
freedom
tapping
or management? Is it EFT or EMT? Oh, EMT is emergency.
EFT, emotional freedom technique. Where you tap at certain points along the meridian lines, which is okay. So you focus on, you identify the most kind of powerfully negative message that's going through your body, or do you know what I mean? Like it almost sounds counterintuitive to how a lot of like woo all is good people think, because you're like, well, why would I want to focus on the negative? But you're basically
clearing it out.
You're cleaning it out. It's like you're calming your nervous system almost, but
you're acknowledging, okay, this is how I thought. That way you can kind of claim it. That's how I look at it. And then so you do that. Like there's a lot of different ways you can do, like on your left side to acknowledge the negative, and then you do the right side to bring in the positive. Or you can do like these pressure points on your face, but you always address the negative first, because like you're claiming it, like you said. And then you forgive yourself. Some people say you forgive yourself for that, or acknowledge that it's okay that I did that. And then you tap and you talk about the positive of what you want. And you can be really focused. You can talk about love, or you can talk about past traumas. You could talk about money, change your relationship with money, which honestly, I have been working on that.
like, because you really want to get to the most emotionally kind of excruciating thing. And you kind of have to dig for it sometimes by kind of searching for it. Maybe you're like, you say a statement like, can you think of a statement that you might say about money?
Let me see.
Because I bet a lot of people can relate.
Oh, yeah. Let me see.
Like the most negative
there's
about
never
fear.
Enough.
There's never enough. Right?
Money is evil. Some people think that people that have money are bad.
That
money
even that
is
gave me
power.
like a little.
Money has the power. That sort of thing. That money is,
Great examples. So you go through those and you really pay attention to what your body is doing. So you find the one that's causing the most distress, so that you then basically, as you're tapping, you're soothing your system that says, like, it's kind of like you're erasing the fight or flight.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. Yeah, there's all different. It's fascinating, you guys. I mean, like, you can Google so many different people do this, and I totally, I have to admit, it's another one of those things where I'm very Midwest. I'm like, it's the dumbest thing up. But then I'm like, wow, this really works. I feel pretty good.
But memories are stored in our body. Trauma is stored in our body. Trauma can lead to being sick and dis-ease. Dis-ease, think about it, like unease, out of ease, dis-ease, disease.
Louise L. Hay was the first time I ever heard that. She called it dis-ease, like you said. And you think about it, and that's what she said. Your emotions or traumas get locked in your body. With women, it's a lot of hips, or let's say you're having back issues.
You had an experience while you're doing yoga with your hips.
Yeah.
I remember you saying
several.
got really emotional.
Yeah, I did. I started, and they said that's normal.
Yeah.
You do like this pigeon position, which is incredibly uncomfortable. But you're bent in such that you slowly are putting pressure down to open your hips up.
Right.
And they said that's where a lot of trauma goes. And I just started crying, or like memories started popping up, or people were popping up, or, someone who had died, or, a bad relationship or whatever, a friendship that went bad, all these things would pop up in my head. I'm like, why am I thinking about this? And then like this release happens.
Like an emotional release.
You start to cry or I mean, it's amazing. Like, it's really amazing. I mean, grown men in that yoga class would be crying.
So how do you feel after?
Elated. And you might feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
Depending on how deep it goes.
And you know what's fascinating about that to me? I feel like now therapy, I think, is amazing for a lot of people, and it really can get you to a place. But I think sometimes after therapy, we don't necessarily feel elated.
Good. No, you feel exhausted, worn out.
And this is a different kind of
release
therapy, if you will. It's a different kind of release. All these things, the yoga, the EFT. What I like about the emotional freedom technique thing is you can just do that at home.
I love
anywhere.
To do it. I've really started doing it. I even got Tommy to do it a little bit.
I think people do it for issues with eating too. Like if you have maybe trouble with knowing when you're full.
Yeah.
You can
comfort eating, stress eating.
What else? Stress, money. You said maybe your thoughts about love. Maybe you've had a heartbreak or a breakup, and so you're kind of bitter, and it helps you release the bitterness.
Or you're replaying a story in your head with each relationship. You're always arguing with someone. There's always you're always defensive, or that type of a situation. It can help you start to go back and look at, why am I doing this? Or sometimes you don't even realize that it's like a program in your head that you're just playing constantly.
I think it's such an appropriate word to call it a program,
right?
Because it's like, or what I'm seeing is like if you pop a tape into the tape deck and press play, and now I'm thinking of all the younger generations who've never done that before. Wow. Hi guys. But it's like, it just has its own momentum. Like you push play and it just goes. So it's like, you have to not only identify that that's even there, then you have to replace that with something else that's more productive and more conducive to positive growth and living.
Exactly. It goes along with what we were talking about when we never really thought about this before, that maybe people don't want to be their better selves. Maybe they don't want to try to. The way I look at it is I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. I'm going to get rid of all the bullshit. I'm going to get rid of all the programming, all the conditioned responses, and be able to own up to it and be in control as much as you can be of your life, I guess. But yet I also believe in fate. So maybe that contradicts itself.
Well, maybe temper our kind of more egoic tendencies, because I feel like the ego will come along to kind of help. It's like a self-protective mechanism.
Being defensive.
Yeah. So like maybe you got teased a lot or bullied as a kid. And so you have these defense mechanisms that have stayed with you since you were young. And you're not a terrible person for having these defense mechanisms. That's part of being human, is navigating that. But that doesn't mean it isn't time to work through that and let that go and find a new way of being and a new way of communicating.
So, that makes me think of is, how do you do that?
Right.
So we were talking about the EFT, talking about working on your chakras, going to yoga, just going for a walk and listening to music. Those were the things that I first started doing. And then I had read something about where you write it down, or you can talk about it out loud, but there's something about writing, let's say someone broke your heart, or maybe you're
writing, kind of like journaling.
Yeah, kind of like journaling. So you write this down on a piece of paper. You write down, whoever the person is, dear Brian or whatever, you broke my heart, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for all that you did for me, but you did this and this and this, and you just write it all down. You might be crying. You let yourself really feel all of these things, be very detailed, get it all out onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Do you remember we used to do this?
Well, I'm smiling because it was really hard for me to start doing stuff like this at first. And I can get into that in a second. I want to hear what you have to what you're saying.
Okay, so you write all of this stuff out on a piece of paper, all of the emotions, or it could even be toward a parent that maybe you felt like they did the best they could, but maybe they didn't love you the way you felt they should have, or maybe they ignored you. Maybe someone wasn't around, or maybe it's even a friendship, whatever it is. So you write all of this down.
Like addressed to the person as if you were going to send it, even though you have no intention of actually sending it.
Yeah. No, you say, you dear so-and-so, and then you get it all out. Then you go to the kitchen sink or a bucket or wherever you want to do it, or the fireplace, and you burn it. And you just burn it. And you let the whole thing burn up to nothing. Just let it fall into ashes. And
how cathartic.
It is so releasing.
Yeah.
I have to say. Like, that really was my first step into really being able to kind of let go of whatever was playing in my head.
Yeah.
The story over and over and over.
You know what I ran into, and still do to some extent, it's hard to express that anger. It's hard sometimes to not justify, even in the letter writing, like to give yourself permission to go there fully.
And stop making excuses for someone's behavior. Just really address.
Yeah, because sometimes we're too understanding, and we don't actually acknowledge the depth of the anger and the hurt and the pain. And the point isn't to wallow in it. The point isn't to stay in it or any of that. It's to acknowledge
to yourself.
Right, because a lot of times we're just stuffing that stuff down. And then what? It's going to seep out in other ways. That's kind of stuff needs to be dealt with. And this is, I mean, yeah, you could go to therapy for it.
It's that expression that if you don't face something, eventually your body's going to make you face it. You're going to get sick, or you're going to get sick. I mean, you'll really have physical, you could have the cold, but maybe you're getting the cold because you're just letting all of these things overwhelm you. It starts to be too much. And I think your body does make you, or you become really depressed. You become really sad, whatever your body is going to make you, until you actually stop and take a look at what is this.
So I really had to give myself permission to be mad and say in this letter writing things that I would never say to a person's face.
No, you're never going. So there's the freedom in that.
But I felt like I had to allow myself to go beyond what I even would think is fair towards that person, because I'm going to burn it and I'm going to let it out, and I don't know. It's like I kind of had to lash out a little bit.
Well, you think of it as this is your chance to say whatever you want. You broke my heart. You didn't take advantage. You took advantage of me. You didn't pay attention to me.
You coward.
You coward. You didn't stand up for me. You didn't fight for us. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just making this up. And you allow yourself, this is your chance to really let them have it, whoever it is. And then you also can say, some people would say at the end of it, you say, but I set you free.
Yeah. And thank you for everything good that transpired between us.
Yeah. And then you go and you burn that shit.
Yeah. And my point in bringing up the negative aspect of it is because, again, a lot of you don't give yourselves permission to be mad. And we think we need to be like peace, love, and light all the time.
But that's not realistic.
And it also can be true denial of an actual feeling. And then what? And then that's where you're saying with your body, like it could manifest as
Cancer.
an actual sickness.
Cancer. Backache all the time.
Here's a simple example. Has someone ever given you bad news and it turned your stomach? There's like an instantaneous, I know, I'm like, I know she gets it, but not everything is going to give you cancer. But there, sometimes you get, you'll get like that. What are some other examples? Like the stomach ache, or
you get a headache,
or
you just get exhausted. You get overwhelmed. You feel, I've just got fatigued. I need to go to sleep. I need to lay down. It's because your body is reacting to a true emotion.
And it's also, emotions can be really easy to get over. Think of a toddler. They can go from throwing an absolute fit, bawling their eyes out, to all of a sudden laughing, and they're over it and they're wouldn't remember. And we as an adult, I think, can get over emotions pretty much just as quickly.
Well, we know that
with practice.
We know that with acting.
Yeah.
Like you'll be in this heartfelt scene where like, someone's killed my child or whatever. And you're just freaking out, you've seen, and like, you're just completely at your wits and you're just bawling your eyes out. And then they say cut and you're like, and I just start laughing because it's like this release of emotion and it feels good because you can shake it out.
And sometimes you can also get stuck in it.
You might get stuck in it.
I've had some of those situations where it's like, I've played some characters where they were really unsavory and not fun to be and not liked people. And I don't like that. None of that's fun. But it's
I
a
love
character.
playing that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but it's fun to play, but it's not fun to feel.
Yeah,
it's
no.
not fun to feel like
No.
disliked and gross and like angry person. But you can get stuck in that.
But you
if
can
you're not-
reckon that to life, to real life. I
Right.
mean, you get stuck in this situation and you
Right.
keep playing it in your head, or he doesn't like me, she doesn't like me, she's an awful person, or my mom didn't love me, and really,
Yeah, the doggies outside the door. But taking it back to the acting example, so when times in our training when we've gotten stuck in something, we do something physical and something silly to basically exercise it out of the body.
like Crazy Eights, like you shake
Yeah,
your
there's
hands,
this,
shake your
like-
feet, jump up and down.
There's different exercises for it, and it really does kind of like shake it out of your body, and it's gone. And I feel like sometimes it's that simple in real life too.
I think so. Or as like I always say, watch something that makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Something just like for me, I love that movie. What is that? Galaxy Quest. That just kills me. And it will always bring me out of some darker spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the end all be all answer, but just allowing myself instead of making myself, allowing myself to laugh.
Yeah.
It just raises your vibration.
You know what I think the part that's the most difficult to convey is the denial aspect of positive thinking.
Yeah.
Finding the line between acknowledging the circumstantial evidence of like, oh, this is some bad shit, and then choosing to not make that the entirety of the story, but also continuing to see, well, life has all these other positive things I can focus on. I'm not saying this didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like,
Because it did.
there's not anything bad ever. That's unrealistic,
very
and that is
unrealistic.
denial. I think that's dangerous. But it's knowing that there's a time and place to acknowledge those things, and then there's the power of our focus to look at other things that are going on in our lives. And
It's the bigger picture. If
Yeah.
you can like pull yourself out of the circumstance, imagine that. Like that's a good visual. Pull yourself up out. Like let's say you're up in the clouds and you're looking down at your life like it's a book or a movie or whatever, or that situation. Then you can actually really see, okay. And you know what you got to remember? It will get better. Every single time in our lives, pretty much, that we've thought, I'm never going to get through this. This is the worst thing ever. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm okay now.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I mean, it might take a while, but you do move on. You do learn to adapt. You do love again.
Yeah.
You do find new friends.
dog.
It's a dog.
In full transparency, I've had kind of like a less than fun week because I had a bunch of money go missing, $1,500, and at various points of navigating that situation, I was like really filled with anxiety.
Yeah.
And then at other points, I was able to really trust that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And trust that no matter
That's
what
big.
happens, I'm going to be okay. And that if I'm not able to, because a couple times I had to like go to work and I was really distracted. And a couple times I had to pull myself out of thinking of that situation because in that moment, there was absolutely nothing I could do.
Right.
So why think about it at all in that
Yeah.
moment? I can always come back to it.
There's a lot of
at a
freedom
later
in
time.
that.
It was almost eerie, Marshelle, because I was like, why am I so calm? Because like society dictates that I should be freaking out right now because I lost a bunch of money. I don't know if I'll be able to get it back.
Yeah.
And I need
Ugh.
this for rent.
Yeah.
Society dictates that I should be telling this dramatic story
Yeah.
and that I should be like, woe is me. That's what we do, right? We tell the story and
Yeah.
it's like, what happened? Oh my God, what are you going to do? And we get kind of like, that's kind of like fun to be like, ooh, this is what's going on in my life.
It's the drama.
I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any of that. It was
Good
just
for you.
It was just like, there's a couple times where it was on my mind and I did tell somebody, but I was neutral about it. I was like, this is what happened. And then
There's a lot of strength in that, don't you think? And freedom.
dude, yeah,
power
I
in that?
agree.
Yeah.
Well, and it was like, okay, this whole power of directing our focus thing that I've been working on is really working if I can be neutral to
Yeah.
this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question. Should we do anything about the dog?
I think we should take a break
Okay.
and then we'll come right back because
All right.
we have a dog.
So,
We're back.
and Balsam's in here with us.
Yes. We'll see how well
Inside
this
of a
goes.
studio with lights and all sorts of things. So who knows what could go wrong. Also, if you're watching us, you will notice that we have headbands on
Yes.
with cards on them.
Yes.
I don't know what's on my card. Marshelle doesn't know what's on hers.
No clue.
We thought it might be interesting for you watching to see what would happen if we tried to guess what card is on our head.
As we're talking about
Other
other
things.
topics, we'll just occasionally throw out a question. Hey, no. Come over here. Come over here. And I deal with Balsam at the same time.
So how about I tell you what category yours is?
Okay.
Okay, your category is App Store.
App Store.
App
Oh,
Store.
God.
It's okay. I thought ahead. I was like, no, this is one she'll get.
Okay, let me see yours. Yours is binge watch it.
Binge watch it. Okay, so that makes me think something I might watch on Netflix or Hulu. Is this a show you know I've seen before?
Yes.
Is it Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay.
Is this something I would be aware of?
100%.
100%.
Don't read too much into my percentage.
Is it?
110%.
I know, right? I know.
She was like, not
it-
more, not less.
I know. Is it? That's exactly where I was like, Is it a dating app?
No.
Oh, okay.
Is this a show that's come out out in the last 3 years?
No.
Oh, so it's older than that.
Balsam. I'm gonna let my dog.
Is
chew
it
on-
Friends?
No.
Okay. Because that's so binge worthy, isn't it?
Isn't it? What's mine again? An app, and it's not a dating app.
So what's left?
Waze?
Just kidding. No, good guess.
Good guess, wasn't it? I'm a little impressed with that myself.
Is there any Is there any particularly attractive actor in this binge-worthy show? Like someone that I could have really see in my dreams.
I know someone that was on the show, so I'm hesitant to say no. But
You'd think that would suddenly make it a lot easier for me, but you know a lot of people.
I do, don't
Yeah.
I do, oddly enough. Okay.
Who's on
Is
the
this
show?
is mine an app, huh? Is it a cooking app?
No.
Is it a TV show app?
No. Is this wait, I already asked you if you know it's a show I've watched, right? Is it a comedy?
It could be.
Could be. What?
And if those of you who are watching can see it, that was a pretty clever answer, wasn't it? It depends.
Like it's bad? Is it so bad it's funny?
No.
Okay.
I don't. In my mind, yes, but in your mind, no.
So it's something I would like, but you would think is ridiculous?
Not that extreme, but
Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
That was very extreme. That was
Yeah.
very black and white of me.
yeah,
I think it's amazing and you'd rather die?
yeah, exactly.
Ooh, give me my hint.
Oh, I can't read that. I don't have my glasses on. Has elections you want to lose?
Survivor?
Yes. I was like, you like that show, don't you? Watch that with your mom?
I do.
What's my hint?
Lean forward a little.
Yeah. Oh.
River with some prime streaming.
River with some prime streaming? Oh, Amazon.
Yep. Yep. Go us. See, we did it. We can remove our headbands.
Woohoo! Amazon.
Just put it over there for now.
River with some Prime streaming. I'm proud
I knew
of
as
that.
soon as you got your hint, you'd get it.
I had to think about that.
But you know what? As
I
soon as
forgot
you
there was a hint.
Yeah, as soon as you said the hint, I got it.
Balsam, no. Balsam's trying to get the headband. He's very helpful.
He chewed up one of these cards earlier,
Which one?
rest in peace, Stonehenge. You
Oh.
will never. I was like, oh man, that's
a
one
good one.
That's one I probably would have been able to guess.
No, exactly. I was just thinking that. That's like more up my cup.
Earlier, we were kind of playing this with Tommy just to try it out, and the one that I got was HQ Live, which I was like, I don't think I know what that app is.
None of us knew what
And
that
then
was.
I realized, no, my mom told me about this app because my mother is very much a tech savvy gamer
That's so
type
cute.
person. Like we
That's
grew
so
up playing video
cute.
games and she was never easy on me. She's very competitive. It's so funny. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, she never lets me win at games.
Your
She's
mom's
supposed to
darling.
visit me soon, and if she does, it would be really interesting if we could get her on this podcast.
I would love that, actually.
Same with your mom.
Yeah.
Do a little.
We could have them both on.
Yeah, that
When's
sounds
Mother's
fun.
Day? Oh, that already happened.
Alexa, when is Mother's Day?
Mother's Day is on Sunday, May 10th, 2020. Did that answer your question?
No. Yes, it did.
For your feedback.
Alexa's our producer.
Yeah,
That's
there
our
you go.
minion. That's what we've decided. Well, now what do you want to talk about? Any more
dog
chakra stuff?
wrangling?
Dog wrangling? I know. This might
Well,
be.
how long have you had this doggy?
He is he's a little over a year old. We got him when he was 8 weeks old.
Oh,
So we've had him since he was a baby.
little guy.
Yeah, and he's still a puppy.
Hey, he's big.
He's very well mannered, actually, for a
Yeah,
pup. To
he's
be
so
honest,
sweet.
super sweet. Hey, out of there! But he's very curious. He always has to be like if we're all not on in the same room, it makes him so he's so stressed. Like he's a herding dog, HERD, not hurting. Everybody thinks I say hurting. I'm like, yeah,
Well,
he's a
they're
herding.
idiots.
I know,
Idiots.
Thank you. But we're like,
How can you be so dumb? Just kidding.
but, you know,
Dumbass.
we're all his sheep, and we're not in the same room, so he just can't handle that. He's like, everybody's got to be in the same room.
Yeah.
Sundays are no hurting Sundays. That's what we call it because we usually stay in the same room.
And then podcast Mondays must just drive him nuts.
Podcast Mondays. He gets mad at Bridget and I when we've been up. It's like 3.
Yep.
See, like he's doing it now. He's like, you guys are still talking? We're supposed to be hanging out. Or it's time for bed,
He
Mom.
wants to play tug of war and all that jazz.
Or at 3:30 in the morning, he wants to go to bed.
Yeah, because here's the thing. We record this.
Yeah.
And then we watch it back and make some executive decisions if we need to make any cuts. And then...
Or do we need to reshoot or
right.
whatever?
And so sometimes we'll shoot 2 in a night and only use one of them.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And we're still finding, you still find your rhythm and your...
What I love about... Maybe we'll talk a little about the creative process.
I would
Because
love
what I
that.
love about our creative process is how open we are to going through all the effort of taping something and
Yeah.
then tossing it aside.
We don't, it's not precious. We don't
Right.
hang on to the idea of that's a good one. We let it go and we trust that
Yes.
something else will come or it ends up being a good run through.
Exactly.
It's like, it's a,
So it's not like perfectionism where we're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not perfect, we can't use it. It's more of like a rehearsal process.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. There was, when I went to Playhouse West, that was how you would get a lot of good dialogue is you would have, if you were writing a scene or a play or a film or whatever, you would have people assigned roles and you'd have like some bullet points that you wanted to hit. Mm-hmm. And then you would just go and you record it. And God, you could just get some of the best dialogue, just so realistic because things would just go in a way you didn't expect. And to me, that's what I like in this too, in a way. It's like, that's how we find our good dialogue or we find the topics like, ooh, that really makes sense. I like that. Or we could expound on something more. My timer went off. I didn't turn it off. I don't know if you'll heard that or not.
I heard it through the grapevine. Heard it through the speakers.
Yeah.
It made its way through.
Yes,
How rude of it to interrupt you. I
I
was really
know.
interested in what you were saying
Yes.
about the creative process.
But I like that though. I like that we trust, where it goes and we're not afraid that we won't find it again or find something.
Today, I would say we were very much blank slated.
Very much a blank slate today.
Yeah. And so it was like, and we sat down to try to really come up with something we both wanted to talk about. And it was like, why do I feel like it's just going to come to us? We sit down, get in the studio, and it'll be there.
And it totally
and
did.
It did. I wonder how many creative people are listening to us. Like, how many of you all listening consider yourself a creative person?
And what's your process?
And if there's any particular, like, do you have one main craft that you express yourself through? And maybe I shouldn't say craft, because I don't want people to be like, oh, well, if I'm not like an expert in it, I guess it doesn't count. No, it freaking counts.
Yeah.
Like, whatever way you express yourself creatively is important.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of different ways I like exercise creativity. Right now, the podcast has been checking a lot of the boxes.
Do you feel like, for you, do you feel like it comes from an outside source? Do you feel like it comes from deep within you? Is it just like what how do you feel about it?
It depends on a couple factors. I think it depends on what way I'm expressing it, and in terms of like craft, and it depends on, because like sometimes I feel really compelled to create because I have something coming from within me that needs to be expressed or exercised or just
Exorcised,
right? Explored. Maybe it's like, almost like creative alchemy. Like maybe there's like a challenging situation that really gave me a lot of pain that I need to process, and I maybe put that into poetry or some like visual art. But when I'm writing, for example, that's so different. It's usually more like I'm channeling this dialogue that's just coming. Like I just hear it in my head. Like it sounds like my own voice, but I just hear it in my head, and then I will in my body feel the emotions of the characters. So it's this very visceral process of the ups and downs that they're going through, and I'll feel anger and I'll feel excitement and I'll feel lust. I'll feel it all. Like whether it's a male character or a female character, it's like
it becomes very real, right? Real emotions.
100%. I mean, I've been writing things and I'm like moved to tears.
Yeah, same.
And it's bizarre, but it's also really fucking cool when you think about it. And it's interesting because I always thought, oh, well, I'm an actor. That's my favorite. That's my passion. That's my favorite thing. But acting and writing and like even coaching actors, all things that I like to do, they kind of check a lot of the same boxes for me.
I was going to say, I think they kind of feed each other.
Yeah.
Because I noticed when I was writing, it added to the acting.
Yeah.
I'd written quite a few scripts at a production company a few years ago. That's a whole other topic. We'll talk about starting over. But we had some really great scripts. And for me, writing, we were just talking about that. I picture actors that I'm really familiar with that I love. Like, let's say I have a dad character. I'll picture, depending on the tone, I would picture Sam Shepard as the dad. Or Tommy Lee Jones, which is a very different dynamic, or whomever, or like this, there was a married couple, or there was a couple who was secretly, or whatever. I would picture actors, even if it was something I was writing for myself, I would picture like, let's say Naomi Watts or Jessica Chastain or something, just that way I'm not worried about what it is I'm going to say. I'm just really getting into that character and that story. And then I could hear, because I could see how they would play it out. And whatever the scenario was. And God, I just fell in love with those characters. And it would just create, the story would just go in directions I never expected. And I just, God, like they had their own life, those stories, and some beautiful stories, some beautiful characters. I love that. It's an amazing process. And I feel like it does kind of come from something else personally.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's like you're tapping into something and you're a vessel for it.
Yes, exactly.
And I think, I mean, I'd be curious to hear from other creative people, maybe what their experience is like. But for me, it's so much of even acting is like you're getting out of your own way so that you can
let the scene play you.
I think that's a great way of saying it. And I think maybe we can even expound on that. Like when we're acting, we're feeling real emotions. We're not acting like we're feeling these things, or reading the script and deciding, okay, I'm going to yell here and I'm mad here and this, that, and the other thing. And the way we work and we've trained.
That's schmacting.
Yeah. Or it could be, sometimes it's not that people aren't, like, they can predetermine their choices and still get away with a really amazing performance,
Yeah,
but
some
they
people
maybe
can.
are coming at it from a different technique. But the way we've trained, and you've trained other places too, but where we trained together, where we met doing actors work, it's living truthfully in imaginary circumstances.
Under imaginary,
and it's very much a visceral experience, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Like sometimes I feel really stuck in the emotion of a character, and it like sticks with you.
Or you fall in love with this character. I mean, that you're playing, you know, or you love that life. You love. It's amazing. It's an amazing process. But you are at Playhouse West. There's a Meisner technique, is which I learned, but it works really well with actors' work. It's just truly living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Like it's you with all these other layers on there, and that's a beautiful process. I think it's magical to me.
Yeah,
you know.
So I think that for a lot of creatives, they're thinking about, I want this to be good and I want this to be right, and that's a really cognitive approach. So you're basically inviting yourself to judge your work when you're coming at it from that way. And to me, I think spend more time being open and figuring out how to quiet the brain and allow your body to really help guide you. And that's a better use of your time than trying to get it right. I'm thinking more like writing right now, but it's a trap to edit too soon.
Yeah.
When you're writing, because it's a different train track. There's like this flow that you get into where I think it's best to just really let everything that's coming to you just write it all down,
even if you think it's bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But try not to think about good or bad yet. Just try to let it. Just trust. Well, basically what happens, I think, is that you start to build trust. Or you're building a relationship with your creativity first.
And it's also write or create what you like, what is in your heart, where you're coming from, and don't worry about somebody else liking it. Yeah. Especially not in the beginning. You know, I think you have to trust that.
Right.
You know, you be your biggest fan. You know, but be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? Like, is this, but I mean.
And sometimes, I run into this. Sometimes you don't have writer's block. Sometimes you've backed your character into a corner and they don't know what to do. Yeah. And that's what that's where your struggle is. It's not about the writing being good or bad. It's about you're starting to create this life. You're starting to create this character, and they don't know what to do with a situation that you put them in.
Yeah, they're really truly backed into a corner.
Right. And so that's what's kind of compelling about it, in the same way that you and I in our life are going to have to figure out how to deal with situation A or situation B. You're putting, I mean, if it's a good script, there's probably some ups and downs and some drama and some conflict. So allow your character to struggle through that and see where it takes you.
Yeah, and they can't be perfect. They can't know exactly what to do.
Right?
They need to. It's so much more interesting when there is a dilemma
and there's a tug. Right? There's a pull to it. Do you want to say anything else about creative process, or?
I think it's a magical process. That I think.
What do you mean by magical process?
I think there's like it's a belief system almost. It is like something other than yourself. You know, when you're in that zone.
I think I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
Like it's coming from beyond you.
Yeah, coming from beyond you. That's what I was saying. I've known so many great musicians. You know, my husband included is a brilliant musician. They all talk about the writing process and how when you're really in that zone, you feel like there's angels around you. You know, and that it's coming from, some people would call it a muse, you know, or the Greeks would call it the muse. It's all the same thing. Or Bono talked about, he always felt like it comes from God. Like sometimes like it's like a holy process in a way. Holy, Holy, not WHO. however
Yeah.
else you spell
Don't be
that.
dumb. Don't confuse the context of
Yes.
holy.
Yes.
Just razzing you guys a little bit. Just giving you a little razz.
What did they say on the Viper Room door? Don't be a dumbass. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Don't be a dumbass.
Yeah. Shout out to Stephanie Mata.
I think that there's like a dance between the impulse to create that comes from a myriad of different things, sometimes pain, sometimes excitement, and, you know, all this kind of stuff
you
in
just
life
feel
experience,
Pulled to do it.
pulled or just compelled, like pushed.
Yeah.
And then saying yes to that calling or that
Yeah.
instinct,
Uh-huh.
and then choosing whatever way you're going to express it, whether it's through music or using your voice, singing, an instrument, writing, acting, photography, something visual, something. God, so many things.
It's endless.
It could be the way you take a drive, you know?
You could make popsicle
sticks.
popsicle stick houses. You know, I mean, it
Right.
could be anything. It really could.
Right. And then allowing yourself to take in whatever is influencing you and expressing. It's like a dance.
It's allowing yourself to see and feel the world.
Yeah. Really not judging your creative
You can't.
expression.
And also hold it lightly.
Yeah.
Don't find it all precious. Be able to throw it all away. Be able to start all over again. That's what we do with
'Cause
this.
there's a time and a place for the editing part of it. But I think that a lot of people haven't taken the time to really create a safe environment for their creative
That's a good way
muse.
to, that's important.
Yeah, there's a relationship there. And it's almost like if you think of it as this little creature that wants to come out of hiding, you have to give room for it to do so. And it's like the more you allow it the freedom to express itself, the more it'll stay longer and in these grander stretches, and it'll get more daring. It'll try new things. So be mindful of the mind to not let it get, in your way and grab hold of the idea and strangle the life out of it by making it what's right, what's wrong, what's missing what's missing is actually a better question than what's right and what's wrong. I think
what's missing?
Stephen, our acting teacher, used to always say that. I'm tingled. Not what's wrong, not what's right. What's missing. Yeah.
That's exactly the way to say it. I think this has been
Yeah.
a very lovely little
Do you have any
chat.
closing thoughts, Marshelle? Anything else you want to add? Feels good?
It does feel good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of some what's a little expression, but I'm like, I really don't have anything.
Yeah, then we're good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Trust the timing.
Trust the timing. Yeah.
Be magic. Let yourself be magical. You owe it to yourself.
Trusting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting that little creative spark.
Yeah.
Let that spark start a fire. Don't
Fan it.
Yeah, fan it. Don't squash it by throwing a bucket of water of abusive, judgmental. No, this isn't good enough.
Exactly, because maybe it is.
Yeah, and maybe it's terrible, but will lead to the next great idea because you allowed yourself the chance to
Breathe.
express it.
Mm-hmm. You got it out.
Yeah.
So trust that. So
there you go. Here's our podcast number 5.
yes.
Guess we'll do this again next week.
Yes, we will. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in and listening and chiming in. You guys have been saying so many amazing, wonderful things.
Privately. I don't know why nobody's publicly declaring their love on our Apple podcast yet.
Write some reviews.
We
Is that
have
what you're
0
saying?
reviews.
Well, we have what do we have, 13
Yes,
5-star ratings?
5-star ratings, which thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
But I've noticed that nobody
written
wants to
anything.
be the first, I guess.
Write something good
Yeah,
though.
why
Nice.
doesn't anybody want to be the first?
That's quite all right.
Also, shout out to our emailers. Thank you for writing.
Yes, we have been
we
getting
started
some
getting some
emails.
emails and,
Thanks a lot.
and messages through Instagram has never stopped.
No.
That part's where you guys are the most active. So thank you for that.
That's great.
We read them all.
Yeah, we do. And we will always do so. So yeahsortakinda at gmail.com.
Correct. If you want to email us.
Or it's yeahsortakinda everything.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Twitter.
If you want to
Facebook.
watch us, we're on YouTube.
Yep. We're there.
Yeah, we're slowly building. I just hit that damn mic again. We're slowly building the process up there.
I was going to say slowly building our empire, but I like process too.
Yeah, empire is pretty accurate too. The evil little.
Oh, what is going on with your microphone?
I don't know. I think it's time to go.
Gravity's a little stronger over there right now.
I think so. All right, guys.
Okay, so we got our little.
We got it.
Yeah, if you said if you're not watching, we turn the video cameras off in unison as best of our ability with these remote controllers.
Whenever I can find mine.
Right.
Right.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Bye.